Well done. Thank you. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's an enormous pleasure to welcome you here to the Mansion House, and more importantly, it's a pleasure to welcome you and everyone watching online to this year's Net Zero Delivery Summit. Before I do anything else, let me thank our sponsors for today's summit: Bank of America, MasterCard, Phoenix, Prudential, and PwC. We're hugely grateful to them all. My name is Nicholas Lyons, and I am the 694th Lord Mayor of the City of London. It's probably a good way to start a summit about sustainability. I'm delighted to be hosting this year's summit with the Sustainable Markets Initiative and with the Egyptian 2027 COP27 presidency. And I'm very, very pleased to welcome Dr. Mohamed Mait, Egypt's finance minister, to today's summit, with the ambassador of the Arab Republic of Egypt, His Excellency Sharif Kamal. Thank you very much for being here, Your Excellencies. Last year's summit was very successful. It was where Mark Carney, John Kerry, Mary Shapiro, and many others spoke with great passion about reaching net zero, and crucially, about making the case for private finance to play a role in making our carbon ambitions a reality. Then 6 months later, at COP27, which was held, as you know, in Sharm el-Sheikh, there was an acceleration of global action called for, with hundreds of millions of dollars of new funding being pledged towards international climate adaptation. Today, 6 months after COP27 and 6 months before COP28, I say this to you all: the time for pledges is over. Last week, the World Meteorological Organization forecast that in the next 5 years, the world will experience new record temperatures that are likely to rise by more than 1.5 degrees centigrade above pre-industrial levels because of man-made and naturally occurring shifts in climate. The rise is only expected to be temporary, but the effects will be long-lasting. And for the first time, we will be able to witness what climate inaction looks like. And not just in places once thought to be the most susceptible to drought, forest fires, and floods. It's happening all over the planet. Ladies and gentlemen, we must transform pledges into plans and put plans into action. The time for delivery is now. That's what this summit is about. Looking forward, COP28, and discussing how global economies can deliver and, importantly, finance sustainable solutions to global warming. As you'll see from today's program, on this stage, government representatives, business leaders, heads of financial firms, and academics, all on an equal footing, because we can't rely on one sector of society to solve our sustainability situation. We can't expect someone else to solve the problem. This challenge requires everyone working together. For example, it's predicted that there is $100 trillion of sustainable investment needed between now and 2050. The UK has committed to reaching net zero by 2050. But right now, like many parts of the world, our government is tackling the costs of high inflation and the cost of living crisis. So with our public purse under pressure, private finance will be needed to bridge some of that climate gap. But for that to happen, governments must create the right business environment to catalyze sustainable growth. And crucially, unlock investment opportunities in key industries for decarbonization. Already, there have been great efforts and enthusiasm from the business sector for this work. Over the last 2 years, organizations that manage $130 trillion of private capital have committed to hitting net zero emission targets by 2050. That includes over 450 banks, insurers, and asset managers across 45 countries. We have to. We absolutely must keep that momentum up, especially because COP28 will include the first stocktake of each country's progress on their nationally determined contributions to fighting global warming. It is this spirit of gaining momentum and accountability that the City of London Corporation, alongside the Climate Policy Initiative, has released From Commitment to Action. It's a report on how the UK's financial services sector has made progress on reducing their carbon impact. And what we have learned is that there has been much progress alongside some unforeseen emerging challenges. One positive example being that the UK's financial services, which have signed up to the Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero initiative, have observed both a fall in new fossil fuel investment and an increase in climate-related investment. Yet despite these encouraging developments, we still need to accelerate climate investment and transition risk management. We intend to release an updated version of this report each year to coincide with our Net Zero Delivery Summit, because the more we measure, the more we can manage progress. I'm very proud of the City of London's international role when it comes to sustainable finance. And our policy chairman, Chris Hayward, will go into more detail about this later. But, put succinctly, the City's offer is simple. We pull together the intellectual capital, the financiers, the lawyers, the researchers, the insurers, the innovators, the risk managers, the actuaries, the asset managers, into one place. Indeed, this summit is emblematic of exactly that, and through that partnership, we can create a great sustainable future. But, ladies and gentlemen, it isn't enough to be simply sustainable at any cost. Our race to net zero cannot become a zero-sum game, where one side of the world is safeguarded at the cost of another. No, any transition must be fair, one that leaves no one behind, and one that has a measurable positive outcome for all of the countries in the world. And that's why the theme for this year's Net Zero Delivery Summit is financing a just transition. It's clear to me that we must increase the social and economic opportunities of climate action while decreasing and managing the negative effects on people and on nature. Throughout today's program, the many aspects of a just transition will be addressed, from channeling capital to countries that need new, sustainable infrastructure, to how financially we can support our natural resources and ecosystems. Ladies and gentlemen, we know what we need to do, but we need to turn our plans into action. We need to encourage greater partnerships between government, the financial sector, and business to unlock the investment potential in sustainable development. And we must ensure that any development supports the welfare of communities and ecosystems across the world. This is not a summit of blame or scapegoats. All sectors are welcome here, from aviation to energy, if they proactively support a just transition. There are no pointing fingers, only open hands, encouraging all industries and all countries to join us, to decarbonize, and to reach our global climate goals. It's only through partnerships that we will succeed. It is only through friendship that we will prevail. And in that spirit of friendship, it is my great privilege to welcome our two representatives from Egypt. First to the stage, His Excellency the Ambassador of the Arab Republic of Egypt, followed by the Egyptian Finance Minister. So now please join me in welcoming the Ambassador, His Excellency Sharif Kamal. Thank you very much.